life is all about choices. And today we're going to choose to focus on the fact that José Ramirez is still home, and that was a lot of fun. And we're going to choose to ignore all the things that happened after that because that wasn't fun. No, we do have to get into all that today, unfortunately, and all the other choices that the Guardians made on the base pass in their loss to the Royals. Because sometimes life is full of choices that aren't fun either. But you made a choice to listen to us, and we're going to drone on about another weird loss.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I was just doing some crap talking in our studio chat here about mock drafts. If we have some time, we'll talk some drafts at the end. We're going to talk about the game today. We're going to talk about lineup constructions. We're going to have some debate about what this team should, could, and would do. But without further ado, I mean, Cleveland... I've got people in town right now, so I didn't get to watch all this game, but they're still in first place, right? The Twins didn't play today, so it's still a tie, right?
Points. It's a tie, yes.
Yeah.
Before we get to that, let's focus on this. José Ramirez, that steal home was ungodly. I mean, okay, to have the Stones in the 10th inning of a tie game on third base with 2 outs.
Is it the Stones, or is that lack of faith in the people hitting behind you?
I don't think I think it's just José being José. It's a Manny Ramirez thing. José is being José. That took some serious. I mean, he is just a smart baseball player.
He is. He's very intelligent.
He's obviously they've seen Aroldis Chapman a ton over the years, so he knows. And Chapman's never been good at holding runners, and he took a chance. And it's not even that he took the chance; it's the slide. The throw beat him, and thankfully it was a bad throw or a bad pitch from Chapman, who was not paying attention at all, because and that's that point. If I'm Chapman, I'm not paying attention to him either, because I'm trying to get the batter out because there's 2 outs, and you don't think he's going to have the cojones to do that. But José Ramirez, Juan Uribe once said there was not a cup big enough to fit him, and I'm going to believe that José Ramirez is probably of the same build after that. But it wasn't just the choice to steal home that was took a lot of cojones. That slide to take home plate. I mean, Salvador Perez had him dead to rights. The ball beat him there, and the slide just tagging the bag in front of the base in front of Salvador Perez. And he came up and he knew, and he looked at the dugout and he said, No, I was safe. You review that. The Guardians didn't even have a challenge. They blew their challenge early in the game. Not that I think it was I can't remember the play, but it was a call where I thought they were going to be right. I think it was Josh Bell going to third base, which we're going to talk about. But they maybe shouldn't have lost their challenge, but they didn't have one. So it was a cheap umpire review, which, they got lucky that they were able to get that from the crew, because I don't know. Is that a rule? You don't get an extra challenge in extra innings just because. I think.
No, you got what you got. And I believe that's right.
I don't know what the rule is, like what the umpire crew is allowed to review themselves in extra innings at that point. But DeMarlo Hale at least got them to do that, and José was safe, and that was one of the most beautiful plays I've seen all year. I mean, this series was really interesting. You had Bo Naylor's defensive game-saving plays on Tuesday. Wednesday, you had the offense breaking out, and Thursday, you had José steal of home in what should have been a sweep, but the things that followed after were not pretty. But again, like I said in the opening, we're going to choose to focus that José Ramirez is a freaking stud, and those 2 plays, the Bo Naylor play at second base the other day and José stealing home, those may be the 2 best plays you see all year, and they came within a span of 3 days. The Guardians didn't even sweep the series.
And I mean, they're very lucky that they didn't lose 2 out of 3.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the thing. To the worst team in baseball, they're very lucky to not lose 2 out of 3. Thank goodness the Twins are not good. Thank goodness the Central is a dumpster fire. The
Twins face the Braves this week.
Yeah, no, I mean, they very easily could have lost 2 out of 3. And I just want to say, I know people are going to focus on the bullpen. Go back 2 weeks ago when I talked about the fact that Class A had only given up 2 hits the entire month. I believe 2 hits and 3 walks and no earned runs. It was not the bullpen in this one. It's the offense. And I'm going to table some of the discussion, but we were talking on air about the fact that they load the bases in the first and have nothing to show for it, wait for lineup changes, because that's something that we're going to talk about again, because they set themselves up to fail. I mean, you go through this lineup, you had Straw, Brennan, Jimenez, Bell, Naylor, and Kwan all have multi-hit games. And then on top of that, Jose actually reached base twice. Bell reached base 3 times. Problem was Gallagher is really bad offensively, and Ahmed Ahmed and Miles Straw are the same player offensively. So when you do that, like when you have 15 base runners, that should be 5 runs. They got 3. This was a game that should have never gone to extra innings. This should have never happened. You can get mad at Stephanie, who's been overused. I know you'll have some stats on that. You're mad at Clase. But at the end of the day, if this team executes offensively, they win. And you got to execute against a 63-year-old pitcher on the mound who's struggled this year. He had to leave his walker in the dugout for this one, to get out there and throw those pitches over. I kid because, I'm older than him, but he's 39. I actually love that Zack Greinke is going to turn 40 this year and he's pitching. I hope he keeps pitching, but he's been terrible. There's no way around it. Father Time has caught up with him. He is a potential Hall of Famer, but Father Time has caught up with him. You have to smash a guy like that. You have to, and they hit him. They just couldn't put anything together. So for everyone who's going to complain about the bullpen has been fantastic. Second best bullpen in baseball by ERA this entire year. Justin's got more data on that, but this was not the bullpen's fault. I'm sorry. Yeah, the bullpen wasn't great, but this is the offense's fault. They have to execute with runners in scoring position. They have to. For a team that was so fundamentally sound, one of my other things from this year, who always made the right running call, who was always good on the bases, all of a sudden, Miles Straw is afraid to run, and the rest of this team is making boneheaded choices. Anyone not named Jose seems to needs to go back to base running camp.
That's a great point. Exactly what I wanted to say is that for all the great base running for Jose had today, or at least just that one steal, the rest of the team didn't get the memo. Brennan got thrown out of third base trying to stretch a double into a triple. I think he assumed that
cardinal rule.
You don't make the first out of third base. That's terrible. I'm not sure what happened there. The broadcast seemed to indicate that he was looking and assumed the ball got to the wall and he would be in easily. He was out by quite a bit. Josh Bell thrown out of third base. Josh Bell should not be going first to third on singles.
Never.
This is a team that needs to do that, but I think people also have to understand.
Especially because, Straw followed that up with a single, which if Brendan's at second probably scores him. And then, hey, guess what? It's a 3-0 game. And when things get...
And then Straw later gets picked off. And I don't know what has happened to Miles Straw's base running this year. Okay, he did have that base stolen the other day before the fiasco of Gabriel Arias's catcher or hit a batter's interference or not bad. I don't know what, whatever happened there. But he has not attempted a steal since I think he only attempted one steal this month and he's been caught once. That was the one steal in the month of June he's attempted, he got caught and now he's been picked off. So it's Miles Straw is this team's best base runner. I mean, besides Jose Ramirez. Okay. Jose Ramirez is the team's best base runner. Miles Straw is probably the team's fastest base runner. I mean, him or Ahmed.
One could argue that Kwan's probably actually a better base runner than him, in the grand scheme. But Straw is definitely the one that's got the wheels.
Straight line speed. It's either Straw or Ahmed. If you're talking just straight line speed, it's one of those two. And for those two guys to not be stealing bases every time they get on, it's a mess. And we're going to talk about Ahmed a little bit later too. He's everyone's favorite topic. We're going to get back into that. Ahmed is hitting in front of Jose, which is a problem all on its own. I'm okay with him not running as much because you cannot take the bat out of Jose Ramirez's hand. Miles Straw, it's got Steven Kwan in front of him, which we can also debate that too. You need to run every time you get on base, man, especially these new rules. It's so incredibly frustrating to see that. The offense left one for 8 with runners in scoring position. They left 10 runners out there. They had a bases loaded opportunity. Andres Jimenez, who we talked about yesterday, he has a 2-hit game and then he goes over the next 10 or whatever. It's a lot of stopping and starting. It's very frustrating with him as well. It is on the offense. The bullpen didn't execute. We're going to get into that later in the show. I want to talk about Bieber after we talk about the base running. But yeah, this is on the offense to me. You cannot let Zack Greinke off the hook. And not only that, you scored 14 runs against this team the night before. So their bullpen was gassed And if you would have just gotten Greinke out of the game, they'd have had nobody to turn to. But they let Greinke, and then the broadcast even said they were trying to get more innings out of Greinke because the bullpen was gassed. They had to leave him in there because the bullpen was gassed, and you still didn't deliver the knockout blow. That is on the offense. Like you said, this game should not have gotten to 10 innings. You shouldn't have needed José Ramirez to pull off one of the ballsiest plays ever. Let's get into Shane Bieber here in just a little bit after we talk about our good friends at FanDuel.
Take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet and bonus bets up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you can spend betting everything from the money line to the over-under to whoever you think is going to hit the first home run. All in an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get it instantly. There's no better place to bet on the MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Sign up today. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball.
Guardians back in action on Friday at a weird time, 2:20 Eastern, playing the
Very
Cubs.
weird.
Yeah, well, it's the Cubs.
I guess the Cubs.
It is the Cubs. So, what they've been doing for all the years past. So 2:20, Cal Quantrill will be coming off the IL. Listen on Sirius XM. Just search Guardians on your Sirius XM app. Speaking of FanDuel, Jeff, the over-under on Thursday for Shane Bieber strikeouts was 4.5. He eclipsed that and then some. He had 8.
I would have gone over even with Bieber's struggles. Like I understand the thought, but the Rangers are so bad.
Yeah, it was pretty. I think he had 2 or 3 in the first 2 innings, so it was pretty easy to go over on that one. Look, the Royals' offense is bad. They are worse than the Guardians offensively. Like I know there are some guys in that lineup we said the other day we would take, and I still would, but Josh Bell and not Josh Bell, Josh Naylor, Jose, and Will Brennan right now are good, and I don't know. Maybe that's about it. I don't know. Maybe I'm making it more complicated than it needs to be. But Bieber looked good. He had, just about everything working again. The fastball was good. He got swings and misses on the cutter. The slider got 4 swings and misses, 12 swings and misses on the day. I know you're going to push back on this a little bit. So Bieber had 9 strikeouts against the Astros back on June 11th. He had 5 against the Diamondbacks in 7 1/3 in his next start. I know that he got pushed a little far in that start because the bullpen was gassed as well. And he pitched good until that 4th time through.
But that's two in a row where you're like, but it's good, it's good, and as we were saying off air, it's like that Astros lineup is not good. And it was Short Yordan, who's their best hitter, and Jose Abreu makes Miles Straw look like a silver slugger right now. We dodged a bullet there. No, it's true. Go look at the numbers. Jose Abreu
been better lately. He's been better.
He's still a bottom 4 hitter in baseball by runs created plus. Even that improvement, it's been ugly. Alex Bregman's not even a 110 guy anymore in terms of weighted runs created plus. Yeah, they got Kyle Tucker and no one else. That's not a good lineup. That Brewers team is beat up to heck. And you look at like Willie Adames and guys like that who are massive. There are a lot of similarities with Cleveland of guys underperforming. The Royals. Yeah, he had a great start. It's the Royals. Again, you could have a great start against the Royals. This is a bad team. He's doing better. He is pitching better. He's getting warmer. Maybe it's helping him as well. He's a guy who every other time in his career for the last 3 or 4 years, this is like we started talking about All-Star. We're not this year. And I don't think that any of this really, until we get a solid month. I mean, it's great. Until this is 2 starts in a row with 8 Ks, and he had only had 2 of those starts, I believe, heading into before the previous start.
I'll take the signs of improvement. I will.
Yeah, so it's nice. I just want to see him face a good team and actually get through and not have a bunch of butts.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fair. I mean, the Diamondbacks thing, I would argue that Tito probably left him in a little bit too long. You could have gotten out of there before the damage really hurt him. The Brewers thing, and to his credit, the Brewers thing, it fell apart so fast. And he had Tim Herron warming up, and it just, there wasn't enough time to save him from that falling apart. But he was pitching good until then. Again, I know I said but. Bieber, though, ends the month of June, a 2.90 ERA, 32 strikeouts in 31 innings, 7 walks, a whip under 1. Easily his best month of the season so far. The first time all year he has managed more than a strikeout per inning. Here's a weird thing, too, and I'd have to go back and look at last year. Lefties are having a lot of success against him this year. He's got a 1.47 whip against lefties this year and a 0.97 against righties. Last year, lefties had a worse whip against him. So I don't know if it's just a fluke or what's going on. Maybe it's the pitch mix. I don't know. Or maybe it's just some noise, because that off splits can often be noise too, especially when you don't have a history of that. But I'll take the improvement at the very least. Let's see. His next start will come against the Braves. That'll
Braves,
be
right?
No, there's your litmus test. The Braves start will be a big one, because
I don't know if that's a fair litmus. Like, if he stinks, I mean, everyone stinks against the Braves right now, so I'll give him definite benefit of the doubt, no matter how that turns out.
They've got 5 All-Stars going to Seattle. Even did you know that Orlando Arcia is an All-Star?
Yeah, he's been better than Dansby Swanson this year.
That's amazing. Who is the Braves hitting coach? What's going on there?
But in the other crazy, so I was a huge fan of him coming up in the Milwaukee system. I definitely thought he was a top 5 prospect in all of baseball. I loved Orlando Arcia, and for a guy who has struggled this year, he's got a 116 weighted runs created plus. On top of him, he's stellar defense. I know this isn't Locked On Braves, but it's just crazy. Like, low walk rate. Now his BABIP, his BABIP is 80 points above his career average. You get rid of that, he kind of turns a little bit more into the guy he's been at various times at peak when he was closer to an average BAT. But still, last 2 years in Atlanta, 104 weighted runs created plus and a 116 this year, after never having had a year over 100. I don't know.
Yeah, I was surprised by that when I saw that today.
Miles Straw would go there and instantly become a Silver Slugger Hall of Famer.
He might even hit 1 home run. Yeah. It was wild to see that today. So that Braves test will be very interesting for Bieber. Like you said, probably not something you want to define him by, but it's going to be a test for sure. So I'm still encouraged on Bieber. The bullpen.
Can I also do a little? I'm going to interrupt you. I do have to laugh. Going through our comments today, I did enjoy the fact, as we're talking about guys who are performing. I have one about Bo Naylor, welcome to the show. He's been such a breath of fresh air. There's been a Bo bump right under it. He's a bum. He's hitting the Royals. Anyone could hit the Royals. I'm like, that. So right there, just 2 back-to-back comments signifies everything about the Bo Naylor experience that we are getting from fans out there. It is, I know he didn't play it. He came in. He was a pinch hit, but it was just, I'm still have to laugh at our comments sometimes, and I'm just seeing the variance. I'm even on the good days, even on the days where this team takes over first place, then scores the highest runs of the year. There's that.
I'm actually glad you brought that up. This is a very good kind of segues here too with the bullpen I want to get into before we get into lineup changes and hopefully some draft talk if we have time. Trevor Stephan had a 280 fielding independent pitching this month. I wish it was the year, but the month. And if you're not familiar with fielding independent pitching, real quickly, it's strikeouts, walks, and home runs, all the things that pitchers can control.
The best indicator of future pitcher success.
Drowns
out noise.
Yeah, it drowns out fielding stuff, and pitchers have more control over that. Sometimes, the home run thing, that's why they have xFIP as well, which is expected FIP if you normalize the home run rate. But some guys give up more home runs than others.
Which is why I hate it and will never use xFIP.
Yeah, I'm getting too deep in the weeds on that one. Yeah. But that was Trevor Stephan's best month of the season. Until today, he had struck out 12, walked 2, and 10 1/3 innings in 2/3 innings in June. And to tell you the truth, he really didn't pitch that bad in this game. If you look at the exit velocities here, okay, he gave up a line out that was 101 miles an hour, 72 mile an hour single, a little bloop. He gave up the sac fly. The other one was a single, and he had a walk, which is an issue. So, the two balls he gave up for hits were one was a hard hit ball, one was a blooper, and he got a hard hit ball that was an out. I think you can acknowledge that Trevor Stephan did not have his best 30 or 48 hours over the last couple of days, or what was it? He didn't pitch on Wednesday, pitch on Tuesday, so 72 hours. Trevor Stephan did not have his finest 72-hour stretch of his life, the last 72 hours. But you can also acknowledge that he had a good month in June. Again, here's his FIP by month this year. April 408, May 463. So that tells you he has not been quite as good this year as he was a year ago. but June it was 280, and he had better control this month. And he might have been overused. I didn't want to know. I don't even know if you could say he's been overused, even because he pitched less innings in the month, about the same innings in the month of June as he did in April and May. He pitched an inning, so he finishes the month with 11 and 2/3 innings pitched. He pitched 11 in May.
It is interesting amongst the bullpen, the people currently in the bullpen, and I'm not going to count Tim Herron, even though he's currently there, or Michael Kelly, even though he's currently there. We did call the Logan Allen thing. I will take a second and give us credit with him going down. But he does have the worst bullpen, or the worst FIP outside of anyone not named Nick Sandlin, who's an everyday member. So, and as you said, he started the year rough, but he has pitched better of late. And I think, it's a bad 72 hours against a bad team, but there are a million teams in baseball that will take Trevor. Every other team in if you were to release Trevor Stephan tomorrow, in spite of his extension, every single team in baseball will be calling to trade for him.
Yeah, the Athletics, you put him on waivers, the Athletics are scooping him up, even if they want to keep losing games and get perfect games against him. And then Emmanuel Clase, as you said earlier in this month.
Lowest FIP on the team.
And he hadn't allowed a run since May 26th. And he only allowed 5 hits in the month of June, period. So unless he pitches Friday, which, we'll see what happens. But extra innings with Clase are weird. I will say, I was texting somebody when that happened. I said, this game's not over. This was up 3-2. For whatever reason, and this is because Clase just doesn't miss as many bats as most closers.
Yeah, he's a pitch contact guy, weirdly.
Yeah. I just had a feeling something weird was going to happen there, and he got dinked and dunked a little, and the last hit was a rocket for Freddie Fermin. Give him credit. I just had a feeling like extra inning rule. The runner on second with Clase, he almost needs a 2-run lead because just weird stuff happens. The first ball that was a hit for the Royals that sent the runner to third base was a dribbler up the first base line in between Clase and Naylor and Jimenez. It was a Bermuda Triangle dribbler. Clase probably could have picked up and kept running to first base to see what happens, but that's one of those plays that it just stinks, and that happens. So everybody wants to crap on the bullpen for what happened, and the Royals are a bad team. You need to execute against them. And again, this is what you're saying about the Bo Naylor thing. Like, oh, Bo Naylor's great. Oh, Bo Naylor stinks. Anybody hit the Royals. The bullpen does need to execute. Trevor Stephan has been good, but he was bad this week. Emmanuel Clase has been great, but he wasn't good today. And they're still good overall, but they had a bad day. Yeah. So all those things can be true. Bo Naylor is exciting, but anybody hit the Royals, but the Guardians couldn't hit the Royals and Zack Greinke on Thursday.
I mean, they hit him. They just couldn't put it together.
Yeah, Trevor Stephan's been great, but he wasn't good the last 72 hours. And their Clase has been great. Wasn't good. All these things can be true at once. That's what I want people to remember.
I got one.
All these things can be true at the same time. You don't have to be a Sith and deal in absolutes here, okay? To get nerdy.
So just to even pile on this even more, this year in high leverage situations, he has a 1.51 FIP, but he also has a 347 BABIP. So he's got a great FIP, but he's been incredibly unlucky.
There you go.
And that's it. His BABIP with medium leverage 258, low leverage 167. His FIP in medium leverage is actually 424. That's by far the worst. His best FIP is in high leverage situations. So he has actually been quite good in those situations this year, and some bad luck. But we should take our break, come back, and discuss the lineup.
Turn on your Sirius XM app on Friday at 2:00 to catch the Guardians and Cubs, game 1 of that series. Search Guardians on your XM app to hear Cal Quantrill's return to the rotation after you said Logan Allen to go back to AAA.
Logan Allen, by the way, second best FWAR among any pitcher on the team this year. Bybee and Clase are tied at 1.1. Logan Allen's at a 1.2. Shane Bieber's at a 1.3. So. And that's not counting today's game. So Bieber's is likely to go up. That is coming into the game.
I love the comments I got today too when it happened, and I tweeted the link to the show yesterday, and I said, hey, we said this yesterday that likely he was going to go down, but also Logan Allen going down isn't most of him needing to work on things. It's whatever he has to work on to get deeper into games.
Yeah, and he's got to get deeper into games. It
does,
right
but
now.
Getting AAA hitters out isn't going to help him do that at the major league level. This is really just a respite for him. It's just for he is the guy who needs the break because he's thrown a lot of pitches in a short amount of time, and he just happens to be the the victim of circumstance here, but he does need to get deeper into games. But getting AAA hitters out is really easy, and you don't have to worry about that. So by a lot of people who are like, oh, he looks like a guy who's a back end starter. He can't get major league hitters out. I'm like, and then you just said he is the best, second best F4 in this team for pitching. So I love the prisoner of the moment comments.
Yeah. It's just, listen, they have 6 good choices for starters. And if you think they don't have 6 good choices, I'm sorry, they do. Cal Quantrell was pitching hurt. He was trying to get through for this team while hurt. If you go and look at his data every other year leading up to this, he's been a solid pitcher. I mean, how many people a year ago were telling me they thought he could be a number 2? Like, don't, again, be a prisoner of the moment. Like, look at the data, go through it. Speaking of looking at data and going through it, why on God's green earth, it's take an expression from my mother, instead of using the swear words, is Ahmed Rosario still hitting second? He's down to a 77 weighted runs created plus. Miles Straw is a 75. They are the same hitter. And here's the thing. We had this debate off air where you talked about, Oscar Gonzalez had another good game. Should he come up? And I'll let you dive into that. My argument here is if you're going to replace one of the two of them, replace Ahmed. And I know people are ready to move on from Straw, and that's fine if you got someone. I don't know if I have anyone I trust quite yet, but you have Rocchio in AA. You have Gabby Arias on the team. And yeah, maybe Gabby's just a platoon guy, but like, figure it out. Like, Ahmed isn't working. Stop being good guys. The problem with being a nice team and trying to help him recover his offseason value is you're making it worse because he is not recovering. He is not playing better. He is not improving. His defense looks worse with every game. He doesn't look like a 27-year-old. He looks like he's a 31-year-old when he's out there with the way he moves, when he's playing defense. He looks like a guy who's on a defensive decline when he's supposed to be hitting peak. And I'm not saying that he's lied about age or anything like that. I'm just saying it always boggles my mind when I'm like, he's only 27. I don't know. He looks like someone who's on the decline, not where he's supposed to be at peak age. And yeah, I know the metrics aren't as high on Straw. He still passes the eye test in center field when I watch games. And that's why I've been like, hey, yeah, go trade for Dominic Canzone from Arizona, who's buried because Arizona's got 17 million outfielders. Because move Brennan to center field and make Straw your 4th outfielder. Go get someone who can hit potentially and play him out there. Let Gabby play right field every day and move Straw to 4th outfielder. But the shortstop situation is even easier. Ahmed's terrible offensively. He's terrible defensively. And you got young kids who are ready to go now.
Do you want me to poke a big old hole in your argument right now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Data. Month of June, Ahmed Rosario, 307, 361, 386 for a 111 WRC plus.
Was that counting today's game?
No.
In the small sample size, I bet it goes down when you count the game to closer to league average. But
we just talked about looking at Trevor Steffen's great month and overlooking this bad performance. Ahmed Rosario's having a good, fine June. 361 OBP, that is leadoff worthy. Steven Kwan is the guy struggling at the top of the order right now.
And honestly, okay, so even if you're gonna, and here's
to get even better here. This
Ahmed's defense is also my killer. Like watching him, watching him nearly throw away the game on Tuesday, you know, with that. But it's like, okay, even if you decide to keep him and Kwan shouldn't be hitting 1-2 at the top of this lineup. Going back to that bases loaded situation, it's great you got the bases loaded, but you already had 2 outs. I know Stephen Kwan had 2 hits today, but man, he can't hit righties this year. Like
it's weird.
He looks like, I mean, that's kind of a problem right now. Like, honestly, Miles Straw is a 4th outfielder. You know who else is a 4th outfielder? Stephen Kwan right now. Like, they have 2 4th outfielders playing every day, and I know they were both Gold Glovers a year ago, but yeah,
Kwan's OBP is 338. Last year he was getting on base at a 350 clip, which, you know, is what you want out of your leadoff hitter. Here's the answer with Ahmed Rosario too. I'm sure, I know other people have said this too. This year against lefties, 301, 363, 425 for a 121 WRC plus. Yeah. That is a fantastic line. I would take that anywhere on this team.
Mm-hmm.
An easy platoon right there. He is a 66 WRC plus against righties. If you want to help him recoup any value, put him in situations where he's going to succeed, and that's where it is. But this is the problem with the lineup too, about how they stranded so many runners and couldn't knock out Zack Greinke. Steven Kwan, he had 2 hits today, but he has been struggling for the most part. Ahmed Rosario had a terrible day. And then you have 8, 9. I know Miles Straw had 2 hits as well, but you're okay. So your 8 hitter is Miles Straw. Your 9 hitter is Cam Gallagher today.
Who's
Quan at
probably
1.
the worst. I bet the least productive hitter in baseball. I mean, he doesn't qualify, but I bet if we put it's Gallagher.
Worse than Austin Hedges. So your four batter stretch there of Straw, Gallagher, Quan, and Rosario at the best is very suspect, considering Straw hasn't been consistent. Ahmed really only hits lefties. Quan has been inconsistent, and Gallagher is terrible. That is a very, very poor 4-batter stretch. And I used to be the guy who was like, lineup construction doesn't matter. And I still, to a degree, I do believe that. But you also cannot go out and spit in the face of it and just put 4 guys in a row like that so poorly. And I don't know what the solution is, because
and Quan is actually declining by month too. Now, in fairness, it went 99, 90, 89. So it might actually go up after today's game, but still, he's not hitting righties at all this year. We talked about before. He's got last year he couldn't hit lefties at all. This year he's only hitting lefties. It's very weird, but he's got an 81 weighted runs created plus against righties and a 121 versus lefties. It's like, and it's the point that I've talked about many other times on the show. You need to have a different lineup versus a right-handed pitcher versus a left-handed pitcher. You need to be willing to go into a platoon. You need to, I would be sitting there. You have against a lefty, Quan and Rosario should hit 1-2. Against a righty, they should not hit 1-2.
Rosario can lead off against lefties. That's fine. That works out.
And Quan is hitting against lefties this year, so let them both play against lefties 1-2.
Yeah,
but against righties, you need to shake things up a little.
I don't know if that's just noise for Quan or not. That's the whole thing's weird, and I don't know.
Well, it's not, because his BABIP is 351. That's unsustainable. And as we've seen, Quan's BABIP is over 30 points lower this year to last year. So that's the difference. Again, when you set a team that is a bunch of contact hitters who don't have power and don't walk, then you're going to get these huge fluctuations, and it's just going to be part of it. And it's part of why myself hates this profile that they've built. It's going to lead you to pull out your hair, because there's going to be points where people are awesome and points where they struggle mightily. And there's a lack of consistency because you have to pray to the batted ball gods and luck. And, it's like Luis Arez has been fantastic this year, but he's also got a BABIP over 400. That's why his batting average is over 400. And the average BABIP is 290. So when you look at a fast guy, it can be 310. But Quan's being 330 a year ago. Andres is being 350 a year ago. This was coming. This is not something that should be a surprise to anyone.
Yeah, and how much of this I wonder too. Josh Bell had 2 hits today again. That's good. He had the big home run the other night. How much of this is Andres Gimenez? If you get, he probably played a little above his head last year. But let's just say he's a league average hitter. He's what is he right now? He is at.
I mean, he was maybe 80 points over his head last year in BABIP. If you look, a 273 and 21, a 278 this year. His career BABIP last year was his longest year, but he had 353 a year ago. He probably had about 50 points over his batting average. And you look at this, that is 50 points, a 55-point difference in average, and a 60-point difference in on base. So that's essentially the difference right now. It's just batted ball luck.
If you could just get him to being a league average hitter, Jimenez, if you can get Josh Bell, he is a league average hitter right now because of the OBP. I don't know. But if you get out of Josh Bell, what you signed him for, you get Andres Jimenez back to league average. I don't know how. Maybe things look a lot different here. It's not a lineup that can hide a Miles Straw. It's not yeah. I was texting somebody else the other day too, and I was like, if I'm forced to pick between Ahmed and Straw, I'm picking Straw because the defense is still elite in center field. And when Ahmed's bad offensively, he's not contributing defensively. That's the problem. So I don't know. There just needs I know the Oscar Gonzalez thing is just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping it sticks. But making a change for the sake of a change it's weird. The month of June has been the Guardians' best offensive month. They were the 10th best offense in baseball going into Thursday afternoon. So you might say, why make a change? Because they're playing well finally. I don't know. It's just, it seems like there's still something missing. You know what I mean? For as good as they've been this month, it still seems like something's missing. So we there's more to talk about on this.
Consistency is not consistently inconsistent.
Yeah. And then on the days, they have bullpen mess ups when that's most inopportune. Like today could have been a win, even though the offense struggled, but the bullpen screwed up. So
but again, the offense like on paper didn't struggle. They just failed to execute.
They didn't get, yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like on the days where they really need the bullpen to show up, they don't. And on the days they need the offense to show up, they don't. They can never get on the same page with all these facets of the team. Let's get out of here on some draft stuff, Jeff, real quick. The Keith Law again had Colton Emerson to the Guardians at 23. I don't love this pick. I know you don't love this pick either for the most part.
I mean, I have him as like my 30th ranked player. I think he's a very good player. If you're a fan of your family who listens to the show, we think he's a great player. He's so similar to what they have. Like I think everyone's ready for some players who maybe are a little bit different from what they have in system.
It's interesting that the MLB pipeline had Brock Wilken at 23 for the Guardians, which I personally like a little more because it is different, like you said. It's just those are such different strategies. Like Brock Wilken fits them to an extent because he's got good Cape data. He has reduced his strikeout rate. He's young for the class. All things we've talked about in the show. But he's not an up the middle guy. He may end up being at first base, which actually is okay for this team. They don't need a third baseman. But he's got power and he's playing.
No, by the time he gets up, though, I'll say Jose may be at first. It's not like it's going to be, you're talking 3 years from now. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? You're right. So it might be a good fit for them. And the Colt Emerson thing, like you said, very similar to what they have. It's just two very different strategies. And I just really wonder, like, how much of this is, like you said, what did you say before the show? It's finding landing spots for guys versus, hey, this is a guy they really want.
You get to a point where it's like, and that's what you're seeing with Noble Meyer right now and Thomas White and guys like that, because so I'm going to throw this in there. So I went through and did every draft class from 2000 to 2016, top 15 picks, like the guys who are supposed to hit. And if you're going through and you're looking at prep left-handed pitchers, just a 6 WAR. I'm not even saying like great. 6 WAR is a guy who had like one and a half good seasons. 22% of players got to that. That's not a good return on investment for a high pick. Right-handed pitchers, 31. All of this is bad. Overall, your return on investment of just a low end is 24%. If you want a 12-plus WAR, you want a guy who's like an everyday player for 5 to 6 years, only 18% of prep guys jump to the college side of this. Again, this is top 15 picks. 40% for college to be at least a 6 WAR, 29% to be and there's more of them too. It's a higher grouping, I should say, actually, of the prep than the college. And specifically in this grouping, I want to point out college third basemen have the second highest amount of 12-plus WAR players.
Take Brock Wilken. There you go.
In the highest, 58 highest percentage of success at 58%. That's even with some recent struggles like Nick Senzel and the rest. So college third baseman is by far, college shortstop at 54% is the next. So it's not necessarily by far, but those two stand out as where you want to go.
I need the guy in the Carolinas to bang the table for Brock Wilken. That's what I need right now.
Young for the class, success in the Cape, big time exit velo, because that's what matters. You don't want to say like 31 home runs is great, but I know that exit velo.
Cut a strikeout rate. Yeah,
decent strikeout rate.
Thanks for listening this week.
For your still first place Cleveland Guardians, I still think they could do more to make themselves even better. But it's going to be a fun time. When we come back. Will it be July? I'm bad at calculating this stuff. So we'll be in draft month. We'll be in full charge and push for that. So thank you all for listening. Remember to download daily. Yesterday's show was fantastic. So big thank you to all of our everydayers out there doing their part, commenting in there. I see Kurt is an everydayer commenting. Glenn, all those guys. So thank you for all you do, and go Guardians. Go.
Beat the